Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here. All right, so we just had to restart this stream because the other stream had no volume. So I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, just give me a little message in the comments, okay, wherever you're listening to this at. Let's do this. Let's talk about news and current events. So today is January 29th, and it's the end of January. Coming up real quick on February. We've only got a couple days left, and it's as if they've tried to pack in as much crazy madness into this month as possible. They're like, just shove it into January, shove everything into January before we move into February. It's madness, I tell you. Sheer and utter madness. A lot of stuff is going on this week that we have yet to cover, so let's hop right into it. First off, we'll go a little bit light with Ronna McDaniels, who is Mitt Romney's niece. She was recently reelected the RNC chairwoman. I see some people out there. Can you hear me? Just drop me a comment, thumbs up, something. Let me know you can hear me. But anyway, Ronna McDaniels is reelected the RNC committee chairman. Okay, this is her fourth term. So if you're a grassroots Republican, or if you're a Republican that's just in general not too fond of what the establishment is doing, then I bet you probably aren't very fond of Ronna McDaniels being reelected. I'm not too fond of the way the establishment of the Republican Party has been going. I'm not too fond of any of it at all. I'm not too fond that she's Mitt Romney's niece, because I can't stand him, man. That is a utter, and I don't even know. Like, I'm trying to not say mean things, because I don't want to be that person. But that man is a piece of no good poo-poo. You understand what I'm saying? Let's see. Somebody says something. I'm headed to the like button and frown faces are coming up. See, that's the way that they do. That's the way that they try to do us. They try to silence us, downplay us, and all types of stuff. They'll downrank our stuff. So just give us as many likes as you possibly can. Throw some likes in the stream. Throw some happy faces, some smiley faces, some hearts. Throw some shares up there, and let us be heard. So I'm not a big fan of Mitt Romney at all. I'm not a big fan of his niece because they're tight, okay? And they seem to be of the similar thought pattern. And it's elitist for all, right? Like, they're for themselves, and that's about it. So, but I'm not going to belabor that point there. She is the chairman, and I pray that she does a much better job, okay, empowering Republicans to stand up for our Constitution, our rights, and our liberties than she has in the past, because it just hasn't been there. Okay, let's be honest. Okay, if you're a Republican, you know. If you're a Democrat, you probably don't even know who the woman is. All right, but there's a whole bunch of other good stuff, so we're going to leave her and him alone. Let's jump into the rest. So let's talk about California. Woo-hoo-hoo, California. Wow. And Governor Newsom, who I am not a very, I don't like that dude. That dude's a piece of excrement. That is Jacinda Ardern's best friend and Justin Trudeau's best friend. They don't got no type of care for their people and the people that they're supposed to have under their care at all. They don't care about the citizens. They don't care about nobody but themselves. Look at the state of Californian cities. Look at look at all up and down, right? Like the beautiful places that used to be in California, the beaches, the piers, everything trashed up, homeless up. Can't even walk down the street of LA. All the homeless. Don't get chased down there by the homeless, okay? Might catch hepatitis, okay? And it's not like I'm making this stuff up. This is real stuff that's going on over there. So it's a whole bunch going on in California, and we're going to hit a couple of notes real quick. The other day, Governor Newsom was out in California walking the street, and somehow they had cleared all of the homeless away, or had them walk down a block that there were no homeless on, which is hard to find in LA right now. Okay. But he was walking, and he had the nerve to talk about the Second Amendment. Okay. Now, let's before we jump into him talking about the Second Amendment, let's talk about two instances that were done because of the same reason in California. There were two shootings. I covered a little bit about it before, and it's because it's a Chinese dude. Chinese dude shot up these people. Now let's talk about this Chinese dude, because you can't talk about Chinese dude. You can't talk about Chinese people because the CCP runs everything in America right now, especially if you're in California. They just sucking at the teat of the Chinese Communist Party. It's out of control. It's really ridiculous. So this guy who worked at a mushroom farm shot up a trucking company and other fellow co-workers from the mushroom farm that he worked at. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like it's tied to some drugs or some people smuggling, some sort of smuggling or illicit activity. Sounds like it was going on there. Now, I don't know if you know much about the CCP, the triads, or whatever other Asian gang banging groups that you got out there that are not directly associated with the triads, but are associated with the CCP. People don't talk about them and the serious impact that they're having on the West Coast, and the fact that they control the most of our ports in the nation. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's, and then speaking of the CCP controlling most of the ports in our nation, Elaine Chao, okay, Mitch McConnell's wife had the nerve to get on the news. I think it was who was it? The New York Times. Okay, we already know that they're not a reliable source of news, but Elaine Chao, Mitch McConnell, we all know Mitch McConnell, piece of excrement that he is. Okay, I ain't got nothing good to say about that man. Okay, Mitch McConnell's wife, and this is why I don't have anything good to say about him. Besides that, he's a spineless jellyfish. Okay, when it comes to actually standing up for our rights, standing up for the people, and standing up for what we as a country are supposed to stand for. But that's neither here nor there. His wife, Elaine Chao, okay, is from a family that owns one of the biggest shipping companies that operates with China, period. She's a shipping magnate family, and her family owes a lot to the Chinese Communist Party. She actually was part of the, she used to be the head of the, the Department of Transportation, okay? Can't stand her, okay? Can't stand her family because they have no allegiance to us. They are strictly about themselves and about helping the CCP in China, okay? Ain't got no business. So she wanted to be like, oh, well, I heard Trump say racist stuff when I was there. Did you now? Did you now? Where you been at this whole time? Bull fucking shit. I call bullshit, okay? Where you been? Okay, what racist stuff did he say? Oh, you don't have anything specifically that anybody would consider racist? Okay. But this goes to my point about the Chinese and how they control all of our ports in America. Like I just said, her family owns she was the head of the Department of Transportation. She and her family owns one of the biggest shipping companies in the world. Chinese Communist Party, their shadow entities, own very large shares in most of the major ports in America. We won't even talk about the Panama Canal or Nicaragua, okay? Because that's a whole nother conversation, because we're trying to stick just to California. But that shows you that China is invested very heavily in smuggling into the U.S., whether it's people, whether it's goods, whether it's drugs. China's is tapped in with everything. And they've got their people down there training the cartels and working with the cartels to exploit weaknesses in our southern border to, well, you got it, traffic more stuff into our country. Okay? Now, this dude wouldn't say anything about the CCP or about the fact that the dude was Chinese that shot up the other Chinese people, because you can't talk about that, right? You know, Asian hate. Don't get me started, okay? Because that's been pushed by the CCP too, which isn't realistically a real thing, which needs to be a whole nother video, but we're not going to jump into that right now, okay? But this guy didn't say anything about that, anything about the fact that that was very clearly trafficking related. So he's got the damn nerve to say, oh, well, the Second Amendment, people don't need guns, and the Second Amendment is turning into a suicide pact. Is it? Is the Second Amendment turning into a suicide pact? Because the last time I checked, the Democrats, okay, for decades, every time that the Democrats have controlled the presidency, the House of Representatives, and the Senate, okay, all three parts of the people who make the decisions for our country, Okay. They have not pushed to get rid of nuclear weapons. Okay. The Democrats have not pushed to get rid of nuclear weapons. Now let's ask why. Why? Because of mutual assured destruction. It's a word, right? Like we have a term for it. It's called MAD, mutual assured destruction. That's why we have nukes. Why do we have nukes? Because Russia has them. Why does China have nukes? Because Russia has them. We have them, and they want to be on an even playing field. Why does North Korea want nukes? Because they want to be on an even playing field, because they know that if they have a nuke, you're less likely to attack them. The same thing goes with firearms. You need your Second Amendment rights so that if somebody knows that you're carrying, they'll be less likely to run up on you. If somebody knows that, like, for instance, Texas, right? Like, I'm not going to armed robbery nobody in Texas. Why? Because it's very likely, okay, that they're armed. I'm not going to rob somebody in Florida. I'm not going to break into somebody's house in Polk County in Florida, okay? Because you're going to get shot. All right? Why? Why is that important? Why is that important? It's important because you need to be able to even out the playing field with people who would seek to do you harm. That's number one. More or less so, the government that seeks to do you harm, because look, they're clearly trying to do you harm every single day of your life. Okay? The government ain't got nothing in interest but its own interest, and its interest is not you. Let's be very clear. I love my country. Nobody can tell me nothing wrong about my country, but we all know that a healthy distrust of government is very important to have, okay? Because the government ain't never had your best interest at heart, period. This dude got the nerve to say, and I'm talking about Governor Newsom, okay, got the nerve to say that the Second Amendment is becoming a suicide pact. Good. I want to know that I'm armed if they try to run up on me, because I bet you there'll be 10 times, more than 10 times, but they'll be extremely less likely to run up on somebody that they know is armed and is well armed, period. End of story. Okay? Are you about to run up on somebody with a MAC-10 or an Uzi? Hell fucking no. It's not happening. You're just not going to do it. Because most people, I'm sure there's somebody out there that violates this rule. Most people don't want to get shot because they know A, it can kill them, and B, it doesn't feel good. Okay? To most people, I'm sure there are some people that, oh yeah, I like that. Whatever, that's weird. Okay, that's a special type of weird. But this is what Newsom said, and he's trying to push even further gun restrictions in California, which is outside of New York State, the most strictest gun laws in the nation. It's absolutely crazy. And look at the crime and vandalism and break-ins and burglaries and people's homes being invaded and people taking over other people's homes like it's their territory. They up there running into people's house in California and saying this shit is ours and you can't have it back. This is what's going on. Like, this is real stuff. And Newsom is like, no, I don't want any of you to be able to be armed. You sound crazy. While he's walking the streets with armed guards. Newsom. Now, moving forward in California, because California got a lot of cuckoo crazy. You know, they always got some crazy going on. They just recently passed a bill about COVID misinformation, right? Okay, YouTube, don't take me down. Don't be dicks about this. This is facts, okay? And it doesn't violate the World Health Organization, because YouTube will like to take down your video. They'll say, oh, well, you said something that the World Health Organization doesn't agree with. And I said, YouTube, I said, how the hell did the World Health Organization become the arbiters of all that is true in the medical field when many times they do not agree with the American Medical Association or the European College of Doctors or any other various numbers of medical professionals? You see that the World Health Organization didn't agree with the CDC or the FDA on giving those, the things to children. They said, just keep it for the old people. That's what the World Health Organization said. You know what the FDA and the CDC said? Give it to all the little kids, even though we know that we don't have the data to substantiate it. And that is a fact, Jack. Okay? And the World Health Organization said that they shouldn't do that. Okay? Me and YouTube, we got a little bit of a tiff going right now because they pulled down one of my videos where I didn't say anything, and I say some stuff. Okay, sometimes about the stuff and the what's the who's now. Okay, so I'm mad and I want to talk to somebody at YouTube. So because you can't email nobody or nothing. One of these days I'm gonna catch these people. I'm telling you, if I gotta make $1 billion to come down on these people hard like the hammer of justice, I will. Okay, I will give them no rest. Anyway, moving forward. Okay, California passed a law about COVID misinformation. Let me use the quote fingers there. And a judge overturned it because they said that we can deem basically anything that we want COVID misinformation, and we'll deplatform you, lock you up in jail, and throw away the key. Like, I wish I was joking, or I wish I was being, what's the word? No. Extemporaneous isn't the word that I'm looking for, or is it? I don't know. But I wish I was being, what's a good word here? I wish I was being like over exaggerating or whatever the case is, but I'm not. That's what this thing says. And the judge looks at the thing, judge takes a look at it, says, absolutely not. Violates so many laws, including the Constitution. Okay? Newsom ain't very happy about that. But moving forward from that in California and going back to the 2A discussion, right now, Joe Biden and the people in the state Senate and I'm in New York. Yeah, the state Senate and the state assembly got crazy plans trying to dismantle the Second Amendment in New York State. But I meant to say the federal government, the federal Senate and the House of Representatives are on the Democrat sides are doing everything that they can to try to ban what they're calling assault weapons, which we know is not actually a thing. That's not a real thing. That's just a term that they try to throw at stuff. I heard that they want to ban assault pistols. What the fuck is an assault pistol? You done made something extra up. You extra made that up. That's not a thing. That is not a thing at all. An assault pistol. You sound crazy. Here's my deal. If the government wants to take away the firearms from the people, let them disarm first. Let the government disarm first. Okay, let's be very clear. The president, okay, all of the people in the House of Representatives that want that, let them have no security. Let the Capitol Police have no firearms. Let their bodyguards have no firearms. Let the Secret Service have no firearms. None whatsoever of any capacity or anything that could be considered that, if you're trying to take it away from the people, because the Second Amendment says very clearly, shall not be infringed. As a matter of fact, it's the only law in the history of our nation that says shall not be infringed, and you continue to infringe upon it. Now, I say that and I talk so heavily about the Second Amendment to move over into the fact that we're sending tanks now to Ukraine, right? And this goes back to the whole guns and mutual assured destructions and nukes and stuff like that we were just talking about. So now we're sending, first they were talking about sending Bradleys. Okay, Bradleys are tanks. I don't care what nobody says. I've known since 2. There's a Bradley tank. You can say whatever you want. Oh, it's an armored personnel carrier. No, it is a light tank, light armor tank. I don't care what you say. You can't tell me different. I'm not trying to hear it. Okay, because you're full of it. Okay, because you're trying to make it sound like it's less than it is. Anyway, we're sending Abrams tanks. First, they talk about sending Bradley tanks. Bradley tanks, as if it wasn't bad enough for the Bradley. Then they want to talk about sending M1 Abrams. I think they're sending the M106, some M106A or something like that. If anybody knows specifically the variant, drop it in the comments. Okay? It's out of control. It's absolutely out of control. And if you're listening, send me some likes and send me some shares, because they like to not recognize our videos and stuff like that and try to down tick them so not as many people get to see them. But anyway, so they're sending M1 Abrams, they're sending Leopard tanks, and they're sending something else. And Leopards R&Rs, of course, those are coming from Germany, whatever the case is. But they're sending some other ones. I believe, and please somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, it is 31 Abrams tanks that they are sending. I don't know the number of Bradleys. I believe it's 12. What'd you say? Something else. I believe it's 12 Leopard tanks that they're sending, and I can't remember the other number of the other type, or even the type of tank that they're sending over there. Okay, now here's the deal with that. Okay, I know a lot of people love Ukraine. Oh, Ukraine when you couldn't find it on a map 2 years ago. We're not even going to talk about it. Drink water. Stay hydrated. We're not even going to talk about it. But here's the deal with the Ukraine thing. Excuse me. The concept of the issue with Ukraine was we're not sending them our top tippy top munitions for multiple reasons. But the one reason being we did not want Russia to use more serious weapons in Ukraine. The whole concept of all of this was to give them stuff that they already have access to, similar to the armaments that they're already aware of how to use and stuff like that. That's been the whole concept of this whole war so far. Okay, not to give them too terribly much because we can kick off a whole world war. And we're very close to having a whole world war now. Okay, you're sending these tanks over. Let me go back a second because we're going to jump forward, but I'm going to go back in time to the founding of NATO. Okay, so NATO came about to help fight. Let me not say fight, right? But to deter Russian aggression after World War II during the Cold War, okay? Because Russia was our allies during the World War II, but they had their own aspirations afterward, and so did we. And they were not congruent. So after the fall of after the end of the Cold War, okay, we said, hey, we're not going to expand NATO any further. Okay. And Russia said, okay, that's good. Here's what we'll do. We'll disband the Warsaw Pact, which is basically, if you're familiar with Russia's Iron Curtain, it's basically the Iron Curtain. Somebody will probably yell, oh, well, it's some different states and stuff too. It's basically the Iron Curtain. You understand what I'm saying? But anyway, they said they'll disband the Warsaw Pact if we disband NATO and don't expand anymore. So they disband the Warsaw Pact, and we said, ha, you was a damn fool, Russia. You shouldn't have never trusted us because you didn't get it in paper. This is a very serious thing because this was something that was said out loud. They didn't say it with the wording, but America actually said to Russia one time, they said, we did not put that in writing. So it's not something that we would have to abide by. Even though they openly committed that, right? We shady. And as long as it serves the interests of the American people, I'm not mad at it. But this was very dastardly and wrong and didn't serve the needs of the American people. I do not see it serving it at all. So NATO continued to expand, and Russia's whole concern was that the NATO allies and stuff would end up invading Russia, because I know most of you don't know a goddamn thing about Eastern Europe or Western Europe for that matter. Okay. And Russia is largely contained as far as population to the very flat land, very flat lands of Western Russia, which is Eastern Europe, right? And very close to their border is where the majority of their population is. Okay. So they were like, hey, man, you guys can't keep stacking troops and adding people to NATO right on our doorstep. That's a threat to our sovereignty. We see how y'all get down. We didn't forget that you nuked Japan. You know, like we are concerned for our own safety. Rightfully so. Because as an American, we fuck shit up. We go anywhere in the world and just boom, bang, bing, blow up children hospitals and whatever and take a hell over. That's how we roll. Okay? That's what we do. Okay? As much as I love my country, I am not going to say that we don't do stuff like that, because we do. And as long as it's in our best interest as the American people, I am not against it. But I also feel that we shouldn't be doing anything with foreign wars, especially if we're not annexing territory. Okay? If we're not annexing territory, we ain't got no business. No business and no foreign war, period. I don't care. Okay? And nobody can convince me otherwise. But moving forward, so I don't belabor the point. So that's why Russia is mad at the U.S. Okay? That's why Russia is mad at NATO, because they done stacked up first of all, they added a whole bunch of extra countries. Okay? After they said they wouldn't. They've stacked up a whole bunch of troops and armaments all in the all right near the border of Russia. Russia said that Ukraine is their red line. They said, listen, do not put any weapons in Ukraine because Ukraine is right on us. And it's a former Soviet state, which somehow people seem to forget. Like, Ukraine and Russia have more than 500 years of history going back and forth. Okay, something very integral to the conversation, which is not talked about. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, the fact that we are now sending them those tanks over there is very, very clearly against Russia's red line. Okay, and against them saying that they don't want them there for their own safety and protection and sovereignty. Okay, it's like if your neighbor didn't like you and was occasionally more likely than not to act against your best interest, decided that they were going to have all types of weapons pointed in at your house and in your direction on a consistent daily basis. And that's not something that would make you feel safe now, is it? No. So it's understandable, however you feel about Russia or not, that they would not like that fact, okay? So they would look for some type of security for themselves. And that's got honestly a lot to do with the Ukraine thing, but there's a lot more. The largest population in Eastern Ukraine is ethnic Russian. That's got a lot to do with it. There's a lot of other things that people don't talk about going into this, but that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is this is an escalation in a war that's already gone on for way too long. It's very problematic. Like, you're goading Russia. You're goading Russia. You're goading a strongman nation, right? And I'm not referring to Putin and saying he's a strong man. I'm referring to Russia as the country, as the people of Russia are a strong man country. Like, that's how they get down. They don't know nothing. You know that most Russians die of alcohol poisoning, not alcohol poisoning, but alcohol related diseases? Because they drink themselves to fucking death, because that's all they know is hardship. You think that you're about to tell them that you about to run up in their house and they not about to let you have it? Are you serious? Like, we as Americans really need to think this out, because we're pushing very fast to a nuclear war, okay? Towards a nuclear war with Russia. And I guarantee you, okay, that if there is a nuclear war with Russia, okay, you take this how you want to, I guarantee you that there will be nukes that go off in certain areas that are not set off by who they say that they're set off by. Again, because we know how our country rolls. We know how the elites do in Europe. This is not a foreign concept, okay? False flags are not a foreign concept. There's a whole book about it. It's called 1984. If you're not familiar, go read it. Okay, because those missiles that would always land in Oceania were never actually fired by the people that they said were their enemies. They were used to keep people in line and people in fear. Okay, so, but anyway, I don't want to belabor that, but talking about the nukes and the possibility that we're just continuing to escalate this towards a nuclear war, this is on us. Okay, I don't care what you say. If you want to say Russia this, Russia that, I don't care. Okay, it's very evident that we are continuing to perpetuate this war intentionally because of whatever benefit that the elites deem that they can glean from it. But we're not going to go into that. That's not what this is about. And I got a lot of other topics I want to cover, and I don't want to make this go too long. So, speaking of nukes, right? The World Health Organization is warning that we are on the brink of a nuclear war and that nations should prepare for a nuclear war. Nuclear. This is the World Health Organization. So the World Health Organization is talking about it. We've seen what the World Health Organization pushes and stuff like that. That means that y'all better pay attention. That means that they are trying to push a nuclear war. Okay? You can't trust any of these people. Plus, the World Health Organization is also run by China, which is a whole nother conversation. China also runs Interpol, which is the International Police Agency, and that's a whole nother story which is crazy, right? Like, China kidnapped the head of Interpol. trying to kidnap the head of Interpol, the international police organization, tortured him, forced him to give a fake confession, and then replaced him with their chosen person as the head of the international police organization. I can't even. How that is, it's beyond me. We'll keep going though. So the World Health Organization is warning people about a nuclear war, because we're trying to encourage a nuclear war, because that's what the people at the top of the pyramid want. Okay, we already know that they're very gung-ho about depopulation and all of this other stuff, because they don't care about anybody but themselves, and they want to save the environment. That's why they want you to stuff all these masks on your face so that you don't breathe out carbon dioxide, so that you yourself don't add to the carbon dioxide in the environment. That's why they want you to put masks on your face. No, anyway, but I digress. And I'm only half joking about that. Okay. There's a lot of other things behind that, which we're not covering today. But with the World Health Organization saying that we're going to go to nuclear war and all the nations should be prepared, your ears need to be perked up. Your eyes need to be open. You need to be paying attention to everything that's going on. Okay. It's also interesting that we've got all these issues with food all of these sudden, that they've been trying to drill. And now they're trying to put us into a world war. Nuclear or non-nuclear, a world war will be a very big issue. And we also have Turkey, right? That's a big flashpoint right now. Turkey and Greece are at it. They're about to go to war, which would be very interesting, because Turkey is part of NATO, and so is Greece. Okay, why are Turkey and Greece going at it right now? Because Greece was doing some exercises and put some armaments and stuff on some of the islands that were closer to Turkey. And then Turkey was like, "What are you doing? This goes against what our deal that we had." And Greece was like, "But you got islands not too far from here that are yours with weapons on it." I don't know what the actual deal is, and if Turkey has the ability, based on the deal, to have weapons and armaments on the islands that they do. But the fact that that's Greece's response is extremely problematic. Turkey is already rah-rah. We already know that Erdogan is rah-rah, and he is about that life. Please don't tempt this man, okay? Plus, we just had the issue in Sweden. If you're not familiar with the issue in Sweden, this dude, I want to say he might have even been a PM or might be running for a PM position. So he burnt the Quran, right? And people were mad. They're mad about that. I don't have my Bible in front of me, but I wanted to talk about an example. My friend the other day put their Bible on the ground, and I was like, "Yo, whoa." And they're like, "Yo, whoa, what?" And I'm like, "Yo, whoa, put the Bible on the ground," you know? And they're like, "It's just a book." You understand? It's also the most sold book in the world, right? So the point, and this is a pastor, okay? This is a pastor that I had this conversation with. And I hold them in high regard as an individual. I respect them very highly. And their point was extremely valid. Said it's just a book, okay? It is not the Lord, and it has nothing to do with disrespecting the religion. It has nothing really to do with the religion, okay? When it comes to the Bible being on the ground, I said, you know what? I don't know how I feel about that statement. But I suppose that it's fair, right? Like, if you really have a problem with that, that's kind of idol worship, you know? Like, it in and of itself is not a holy relic, because it's not a holy relic. You got it from, you look at it, it says published 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a holy relic. So why are you mad, right? That was the message that she was trying to impress upon me. But, you know, Muslims and Islam, they hold all of that stuff way extra super serious, which is kind of interesting, because it kind of actually contradicts their religion too, which was the point she was making to me, that it contradicts our religion as Christians, but them, the way that they interpret it as Muslims, it kind of contradicts the way that their religion is written in the Quran. Well, but feel how you want to feel, right? because I'm about ready to beat somebody up over putting the American flag on the ground. It's a fight. You understand what I'm saying? Or setting the flag on fire. It's a fight. I believe that that is a declaration of war. And I believe that the people that are Muslims felt like that was what was happening right there. You know, like that was a call for sacrilege against them and for people to come at them. And I understand that concern very seriously. And Erdogan was like, whoa, what the flying fizz knuckles? And you know, we already got beef already. Not me, I'm saying as if I was Erdogan in Turkey and Sweden. They already got beef because they're holding the, I can't remember the name of the group there. They got some people that Erdogan believes are part of the group that tried to overthrow him a couple of years ago. Erdogan is an interesting character himself. But they were already, him and Sweden were already beefing. I want to say, who was it? Sweden and Finland wanted to join NATO. Let me see. I'm gonna tell you right now because I don't want to be wrong about this because this is important. 2 nations trying to join NATO opposed by Turkey. Yep, Finland and Sweden. Look at me being on top of it and accurate. Hallelujah. All right. So yeah, so he's mad at them because they got these people there that he considers to be terrorists, and he doesn't want them to have those terrorists. He's like, give me the terrorists, okay, and stop harboring the terrorists that tried to take me out, and then I'll let you go into NATO, because you have to have every single member as a signatory to allow a new state into NATO. So, and unlike in America, a state is a nation. So when I say a state in this frame of reference, I'm talking about the nations. Okay. Let's see. We got a couple comments here. Let's see what we got going on here. Southern border. Biden has let how many illegals in? Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Hey, John, I see you there. Hey, Bill, I see you there too. Hey, Bishop. All right, so let's move forward. So, John, there'll be a replay. You'll be able to catch it later. It's not gonna get deleted unless they feel some type of way. So it'll be on there later. Anyway, moving forward, we also really need to talk about the fact that if NATO, right, they have the clause where if attack on one is an attack on all. So if Greece and Turkey actually get into it, whose side do we take? Do we take anybody's side at all? What does that mean for the rest of NATO? These are considerations that we really need to be thinking about now as we are on the precipice of World War III, because we want to send these daggone tanks over to Ukraine. It's very, very serious right now. But in other news, right, because that if that wasn't enough news to get your blood boiling, we've got it's just so much stuff. So let's go back a couple of days. A couple of days ago, Project Veritas did a report. They did if you're not familiar with Project Veritas, please go check them out. They're an investigative journalism group. All right. They do great work. Very, very good work. So they did I guess you would call it undercover investigation, and they did like a conversation with somebody that was working, you know. So they thought they were on a date or whatever the case with somebody, and the dude just told them all about whatever was going on in Pfizer. Now, he said Pfizer is working on changing the way that the COVID virus is to make it more deadly, so that they can make better vaccines or whatever the case is. Okay. That's gain of function research. That is gain of function research. That is gain of function research. This is the biggest bombshell company that is said to be pushing for all of these, the things and all the other stuff. That is a huge bombshell. Did you see it in the news at all? You didn't see it covered at all. It was nowhere in the news did they talk about this bombshell revelation that Pfizer is actually performing gain of function. You understand what I'm saying? The whole concept is that COVID was released from a lab anyway. to begin with. And now we and the World Health Organization, YouTube, okay, the World Health Organization agrees with me on this. Me and YouTube beefing right now. Anyway, the World Health Organization says it's very likely to have come out of a lab, most likely the Wuhan lab. So that's something very serious. So now knowing that, which we're not even going to talk about the bio labs in Ukraine, right? We won't talk about that. Okay, real things. These are real things that don't get talked about. Okay, so they said that they did this. That the guy said that they did this. Then the news, then it came out. They did the release of the footage or whatever the case is, and Pfizer was silent. Pfizer was silent. All of a sudden, quite a few things happened to distract from it in the news. Okay, so many things. I can't even remember all of the things because half of them were BS. You understand what I'm saying? But one of the big things that happened was it was his name, Tyree Nichols or whatever his name is. Excuse me for not knowing, but whatever. Okay, this is much bigger than that. Okay, hundreds of thousands of people. Well, I should say hundreds of millions of people in this nation. I believe at last count, they said about 210 million people have taken those, the things. And this company that has given these people the things is saying that they are performing on the virus to make it more easily susceptible to people and more deadly. It sounds crazy, but it also sounds like money, because that's what these companies are about. They're about money. Okay, never forget that. It's always profit over people for them. They do not want to make you healthier. They want to keep you just sick enough that they can still bill you. That's the way the American health system works. Okay, and it's not good. So then the Tyree thing came up and was on everything, everywhere. So it just kind of was absolutely ironic that this came out the day after the Pfizer bombshell dropped. So there was no other news but about this, right? And there was a couple of other things like I'm just so frustrated about it. I can't even remember off the top of my head. But there's quite a few other things that happened that were like ridiculous. Anyway, moving on. The day after that, right, that Tyree thing broke. Pfizer, and I wish I had the letter in front of me. Yeah, Pfizer said this, YouTube, so don't give me a hard time about it. Pfizer said, oh, well, you know what? We actually don't do gain of function research, but we contracted out to other people. So it's not really us that are doing it. We're contracting it, so it's okay. It's okay because you're contracting it. That's what you're going to tell me right now. And they said this publicly, but you haven't heard word boo about it. And that's extremely alarming to right now. They'll cover everything else in the news except for this. Please, if you guys are on Twitter or are on Rumble, go look up the Project Veritas video on this. They took it off of YouTube. It's funny that they took it off of YouTube the same day that they took my video off of YouTube. So they were just gunning for people that day, apparently. And I didn't even say anything out of the woods. Okay. And I definitely do. Okay. But yeah, so that's absolutely crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. This is the biggest bombshell story, okay, of, I don't know what, the last 50 years. You understand what I'm saying? Like, a private company is legitimately doing something that the government says is on a massive scale that could possibly kill millions of people for profit, for them to profit on creating the problem and selling the solution. Isn't that sounds just like the government to me? Stay hydrated, drink water. But that sounds just like the government to me. It's a daggone it shame the way things operate. It is a truthful shame. Absolutely. And I'd love to go in more, but I also want to keep my videos up. Okay. Because I got a lot more to say about it. Catch me offline. Okay. What was that one catchphrase that girl had? Catch me outside. Oh. What somebody says, yeah, I'm not able to say anything about that, but I'll say this. Pfizer is a Nazi company. Okay. They helped the Germans in their eugenics programs to help erase all of the other races off of the face of the earth and to make it so that they can make a white superior race. That's Pfizer. That's who they are. They are a Nazi company. This is not new news. Like, we know that they were deeply involved with the Nazis in their eugenics program for ethnic cleansing, and for empowering the white race. So, yeah, all y'all got white supremacist shots in you. How you like that? You don't support white supremacy? Turns out you do. No offense, right? Like, I don't want to offend anybody on here. I love you all. And if you got hello, okay, we're back. Okay, they tried to knock us out the line. All right, we are back. All right. So I guess they didn't like me talking about Pfizer being part of the Nazis' eugenics program. How about that? Fucking Nazis. Okay. Um, but it's a real thing. Like, you can look it up. Pfizer is part of the Nazis' eugenics program. This isn't something that I'm making up or I'm pulling out my behind. This is real, actual information that everybody should need and know, but we don't talk about that, and we can't actually talk about that here in America. That's a whole nother conversation. We can't talk about Operation Paperclip and how we brought all of the Nazis and the scientists and stuff over here to America after World War II. We can't talk about that. We can't talk about how that's all ingrained in our political system and stuff like that. We can't talk about that. We can't even talk about the fact that the Nazis are socialists, right? We can't talk about that either. So that's a whole nother conversation. Yep. NASA, Volkswagen, Bayer, yep, all of those Nazi companies. Actually, fun fact about Volkswagen and the Volkswagen Beetle. Hitler said that he wanted to build a car that every man could afford. And that's how they came up with the Volkswagen Beetle. And he delivered, right? Like, that's very interesting fun fact. So, anyway, a couple other things that we need to hit up before we get out of here, even though they tried to pull us off the internet real quick. Y'all saw that if you've been following. Anyway, the California wealth tax. I want to hit that up before we bounce out of here. So California is starting to try to push for imposing a wealth tax that will travel with you if you move out of state. Now, at this point, it doesn't seem to be very much. It's like 1% or whatever the case is. Who knows the truth? Who knows the lie? But that's what it's said to be. And they're trying to put more money, take more money from people that are leaving the state. How about you fix the daggone estate? How about you stop letting criminals run crazy? How about you stop encouraging the homeless to be homeless? Because that's what they're doing. I watched a video the other day of this guy in California, and he was interviewing the homeless people, right? And the one lady that he interviewed, she told him, she said, yeah, man, he's like, they're basically, he's like, how easy is it to be a homeless person in here in California? She said, really easy. She said, they're incentivizing us to be homeless. It's awesome. Lord have mercy on us all. Okay. For real, for real. That, when I heard that, I was just like, poof, mind blown. But instead of Governor Newsom actually doing something about that, he wants to tax the wealthy people that are leaving the state. How about you make it better so they don't leave the state to begin with? You know, how about you make it better so we can get some of the Californians that done moved into Texas and Arizona and send them back? Because y'all making Texas and Arizona all blue and bringing your terrible policies with you down to red states. Stop it. We don't want that. Send it back. Look at what you've done to Idaho. That's why Idaho doesn't want y'all there. Stop. Your policies didn't work in the states that you were in. That's why you left. Stop. And stop voting that way. Duh. Like, y'all not stupid. Y'all are highly educated, most of you. You know, and you're voting for the same policies that ruin the states that you came from. Anyway, let me not jump into that too far, but speaking on taxes, okay, the Republicans in Congress, some of them, have sponsored a bill to abolish the IRS and create a VAT tax, okay, a value-added tax that would be like a sales tax on all goods, be a 30%, and this is the proposal right now, a 30% VAT tax on all purchased goods across the nation. And that's how they would account for not having to have the IRS anymore. I think that's a fantastic idea. I think that's a fantastic idea. I think it needs to be worked out. I don't know if 30% is the number, because if you look at the tax brackets, and I'll pull them up here so I can tell you the percentages directly, because I don't want to tell you the wrong numbers. So 10% if you don't make no type of money, 12%, 22%, 24%, 32%, 35%, 37%. So 30% is somewhere in the middle-ish. Okay. I'd love to see that type of a tax be more like 20, 25% if we were going to do it max. I'm going to say 20. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to pay the government any extra money if we don't have to. Honestly, I'd prefer that we don't have any federal taxes. And if we did have any federal taxes, it was like 10%, period, point blank, flat tax on everything. I'm not with it. Okay, that's a whole nother video. I'm just trying to help report some of this news that's going on here. And I don't know if you guys saw, in addition to that, I don't know if you guys saw Joe Biden's little video recording of his speech, or if you were at his speech or whatever. I want to show you this because I'm not able to. Well, I'm still figuring out how to add stuff to the thing as we're streaming and stuff like that. So bear with me. But you see this right here? I know it's not very clear, but you see that and that? Okay. So let me show you what you're looking at. The first one is a guy that looks like he's got a hat on, might be a hard hat, and he's reading a book, right? The second one is like a stock thing. You know how you see the stock arrows up? You know what I'm saying? This got one going down. And then the next thing is a dollar sign. Why is it going down, Joe Biden? Why is it going down? Why is this on your sign talking about good jobs, lowering costs for America, and you got what appears to be a stock or a value symbol going down? Why, Joe? That's a bad look. I don't know if you didn't think about that, or if your people didn't think about that, or maybe it's just, honestly, they know that they're trashing everything up and they're trying to be subliminal about where the hell we're going. And if you're following me right now, give me a couple likes, give me a couple hearts, okay? Send me a couple shares, because they like to move our videos so people aren't able to see them. But yeah, this is what's going on right now. And with all of the social upheaval, it's a distraction away from things like the food issues that we're having. As you see, the price of eggs is now $10 for a freaking thing of eggs. It's out of control. But we've also had a lot of farmers reporting that it's got a lot to do with the feed. Oh, we're not even going to jump into it too deep here on who's making the feed and who owns the companies behind the feed and all of that nonsense. But the feed that is being fed to the chickens is apparently harshly affecting their egg production. So the government is trying to tell us, oh, it was the bird flu, killed a whole bunch of birds. And I've talked about this before. How? How is that even possible? It's not possible. You're lying. Okay? Most chickens are kept in these giant freaking things that look like huge warehouses. Okay? No fucking way. Random chickens from other places came and infected them with a disease. No way. It's not happening. Like, you're making stuff up. The only way that could be possible is if you were pumping that into their air vents, which is very interesting because a couple of years ago, there was some people or a group of people going around actually gassing all the chickens. It's a real thing. Look it up. So that's a whole another conversation. But the food thing is a really, really large issue. I don't know if you follow what's going on in the Netherlands right now. The truckers are protesting. The farmers are protesting because they've got these ridiculous laws that they're implementing that will basically make it too expensive for anybody to be able to be a farmer, which will crazy impact the way that people eat and stuff over there. Matter of fact, and I didn't write this down as a note, and I wasn't thinking about it, but now that I'm talking about it, it reminds me. They just added some new ridiculous regulations in the Netherlands about beef production. And other meat production. It's absolutely insane. They're going to make it so nobody can afford to eat, and then everybody will be dependent on the government. Excuse me. And then I'm sure they'll try to make you eat all types of fake food and genetically modified food that they grew in a lab that isn't even real, and them telling you that it's food, but it's not food, but it's probably cannibalism. Soylent Green is people. Soylent Green is people. If you don't know the movie Soylent Green, go watch the movie Soylent Green. Please watch that movie and read the book 1984 while you're at it. But it's out of control, and it's happening here. And they're trying to charge people more to have animals and stuff right now. And they're pushing these things they're calling the ESG stuff and nonsense. And they want you to have carbon credits. So if you're not able to pay for your carbon credits, you can't drive. You can't have food. You can't wear clothes. You can't do any of these things if you can't pay for your carbon credits. If they don't get that shit the fuck out of here real quick, well, we're not with that. And the American people don't know what the hell's going on, and we need to be standing up and pushing back against this. But we don't know that the G20 nations signed a unanimous agreement, and we're the head of the G20, that the G20 nations signed a unanimous agreement about international vax passes. We don't know that the U.S. government signed this basically pact with Mexico and Canada to basically make us more closely together as far as economy and politics and stuff goes, basically eliminating the sovereignty of the United States of America. We don't know about that because they don't cover that stuff in the news like that. We don't know that at the World Health Organization, they're talking about now when you take medicine given from the doctor or whatever, it's going to have little chips in it that you're not even able to see that will be, when you take them, they'll be activated by the electricity in your body and they'll function in your body, and the companies will be able to register it and they'll know that you took the pill or not. This is out of control. We don't know about the fact that now they're reading your brain. They're able to read your brain waves, and they want to install this type of equipment in all workplaces and stuff like that. Now, here's the deal. While you still can, go find this series. Okay, it's called Incorporated. Okay, it had one season. It was critically acclaimed, and it was so awesome. But it was so close to reality, they canceled it. The brainwave stuff, scans at jobs, They talked about that there. And this was like 3-4 years ago now. Just go watch it. Go watch it because I ain't got time to cover it. Go watch it. It's called Incorporated. If you can find it, it is the show that's going to show you what the fuck's about to happen in the future. Please watch it. Please pay attention. A very striking thing about that was this advertisement that they had inside of the show. And it was like, if you ever watch the TV show and you see on the weekends or at late nights, they'll say, please donate to this child. It's less than a cup of coffee a day. You guys know the advertisements I'm talking about. But they had the advertisement about the and I'm matter of fact, you know what? Let me see if I can play it for you. Let me see if I can play it for you. Let's see if we can make this happen because I'm not sure how to load it up on here yet, but I promise you I'm working on getting better at it, and we're gonna absolutely make that a real thing in the next couple of weeks. Okay, let's see. Here we go.
美国，这个全球最富裕的国家之一，仍面临着饥饿的困扰。在这个国家，尽管食品供应过剩，却仍有4900万美国人。美国，这个全球最富裕的国家之一，仍面临着饥饿的困扰。
Okay, so I can't get it to, I'm not able to get it to focus good. Okay, but anyway, as the video goes, basically what's happening in the video is it's a campaign to get people to from it's China running this campaign to say donate to Americans, because what happens in the show is the country is destroyed. Between war and cataclysm from environmental catastrophe, okay, the U.S. is now has a very large amount of the people are in poverty, okay, and impoverished. Okay, you guys got to watch this show. So China is running ads for that for us in this fictitious world, which is unfortunately far too close to reality, which is why they took it off the air so quickly. It's called Incorporated. Please, if you can, go watch it, find it. If you really love me, send me the DVD or Blu-ray pack of that, okay? I don't have Blu-ray players, but I will buy one just for that because that show is phenomenal. And I wish they would have kept it on, but it was too close to reality. It was like, we can't do this. Anyway, so the World Economic Forum also has it where they're like, yes, we also are going to make it so that, oh my goodness, just so many things, right? That the World Economic Forum has brought to our attention that they're actively doing. The brain chips, they want to put brain chips in everybody within the next 10 years. George Soros sat right there on the stage and said, yes, could you imagine in another 10 years that we're all going to be sitting here and I'm going to know exactly how you guys are feeling because I'm going to be able to read how you guys are feeling with your brain chips in your head. This is real. Like, this isn't fictitious. This is what these people, these absolutely 1% of the 1%, okay, are out there saying publicly. Could you imagine what they're saying behind closed doors? So when you see all this upheaval, when you see all this division, this dissension that they're sowing in America, when you see them sending our tanks, okay, to another country, when you see them sending our ammunition and arms and munitions and everything to a foreign country and them being used up, and our generals and our military talking about, hey, we do not have enough armament to be combat ready. If we were to have a full-scale war, you have to start asking yourself, why are they trying to disarm America? We are the last bastion of light and the last bastion of hope in this fight for independent sovereignty as a nation. If America falls, all other countries will fall. Okay, we must secure our Second Amendment rights. We must keep these rights. You know, people are like, well, if you have a gun, why not a tank? Why not a cannon? Good question. Good question. Yes, you should have a tank. Yes, you should have a cannon. And if your finances are able to provide you for that, buy one, buy two, buy 20, because you're going to need your own private army real soon. The way things are looking, it's getting real rough and bad. Okay. And I'm not here to sell you a dream or sell you extra stuff, but I'll tell you something real nice. Okay. Yes, we will be able to triumph through this whether I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like, let me be real honest with you. I don't see any way out of what the hell they're putting down. Okay. But I do see that we can slow it down. I do also see that we can find ways to benefit as this new world, whatever the hell they want to call it, unification project, okay, goes into effect. I'm not even completely against one world government. I just don't like the way that they're doing it. You understand what I'm saying? I don't like the way that they're doing it. I don't like the depopulation that they're pushing for. And if you don't see the depopulation agenda and the massive issue with the population growth in not only America, but the rest of the world right now. I was watching the other day, what's her name? Georgina, something. I don't know. The lady who's the prime minister of Italy, right? They were talking about how Italy's population is so low and the birth rate is, well, Italy's population of elderly is so high and their birth rate is so low that in the next decade or two, they might cease to exist as a nation of people because they don't have enough people. So that's very, very, very serious. Maloney, right? Georgia Maloney? That sounds right. That sounds like her name. But that's something very serious, and it's not just them, right? Like, it's China's having a big issue with that. Japan's having a big issue with that. The fertility rate in America is somehow disappeared. Like, people just ain't having any kids and don't have the capability to have kids like that. And you'll say, well, Marcus, I know somebody with 3 or 4 kids. I've got 3 or 4 kids. But the majority of people in this country are not having them. How many? And then you wonder how many times they had to try, what other things, and blah, blah, blah. But all of this goes to the agenda of grand unification, as I call it. Okay. And I'm not against grand unification. I just don't want the depopulation agenda. And Lord, let me tell you what the real thing is. If they're coming after everybody, I know one thing right now. My pockets don't look thick enough, and I'm not friendly enough with all of these people, okay, to make sure that they don't take me out too. So when they talk about they want to get rid of 85 to 90% of the population so that they can save the environment, I start to get very concerned. Okay, I start to get very concerned. For the environment, we should kill off all the people. You sound crazy. You sound like a monster. And I know y'all got groups and rings. And I was just watching a thing on the child sex slavery and child slavery in Europe, man. And the lady had escaped it, you know, and the lady was talking about how how in these groups, like, they ritualistically kill children. Like, that's what they do. That's what these really rich people do. They kill children. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this isn't like, and we knew that forever, right? Like, we always suspected that was the case. We kind of knew that was the case. We've heard stories. We know that there are stories from medieval times to now that's what they do. And anyway, we know that that's what they do. And now we're finding out that that's what they do. Okay. Somebody tell me about all the missing Black girls in DC and where they've gone to. Okay. Nobody talk about that. Well, nobody investigate that. Thousands on thousands every year. It's hard enough to find a good Black woman right now. Y'all trying to get rid of the rest of them? I got issues with you. Anyway. But this is the agenda that they're pushing for us. Like, nothing that I said is not verifiable. Everything that I just said about the World Economic Forum, the direction that they're looking to take us in grand unification, is all verifiable. I did not pull this out of my nose or out of my bum. You can go look it up. Okay. We need to be on top of this. We need to figure out how we can benefit best from this, and just going along with it is not going to benefit you. Understand, their goal is to get rid of 85 to 95% of the population of the world for the environment. So anybody that comes up to you with some green stuff, and they're not talking about making sure that the biospheres are intact, and they're not talking about native plants to you, and they're not talking about all of these things that we would normally traditionally consider environmental, but are now more so not considered that, because the whole green agenda has gone so far, it's completely lost its origin, which is actually what one of the co-founders of Greenpeace said. Yeah, he said that. I was like, oh, the co-founder of Greenpeace agrees with me. And as an environmental conservationist, that meant a lot to me. I was like, power. You know what I'm saying? That meant a lot to me. So it's concerning to me as we experience all of these issues, all of these distractions, that a lot of people aren't able to see what's actually going on. So I'm going to do my best to talk about it when I can, where I can, but I'm also going to do my best to prepare myself, because I see that no matter how much you tell other people or you talk to other people about what's going on, they don't give a good golly gosh, and they wouldn't even dare try to prepare for it the way that needs to be done, because it's about to get real thick. We are in what I call the fall. Okay, you call it whatever you want to. Okay, I call it the fall. Why? Because all the nations of the world are falling right now. All the modernized nations of the world right now are falling, and it's all intentional. But at some point, you got to hit bottom, and after they hit bottom, they're going to start building it back up. Okay, just without most of you, and that's their goal. And I want to be there through the buildup, and I want to succeed and thrive and do as much as I can on the way down to make as much and be of as much influence as I can to benefit myself, so that they don't get rid of me. You understand what I'm saying? Because they're coming for everybody. They're coming for everybody. This is the message. Figure out what you can do, where you can be of use, how you can help, how you can fix yourself together, or whatever the case is, because it's going to get really, really serious. And I love you all, but at some point I might not be able to speak as freely as I'm speaking right now. Hell, I don't even know if they'll keep this video on all this streams. You understand? I love you all, and I wish you the best. Please stay up on alternative news sources, because the news that's out there right now is not telling you 1/50th of what's going on. And if we really were able to get the information on what's actually going on and being done, we'd be mind blown. We'd be mind blown on what these people are doing and how they're going about stuff. And I really, really love all of you, and I wish you all the best. I really, really do, because there are going to be some serious, serious times coming up. But I'm going to do the best that I can to benefit from them, and I hope that you do too. Just don't give up your values, and please don't turn in your neighbors. Okay? It's so important. To that note, I want to let you guys know I'm about to sign off. You guys be blessed, be well, and make sure that you stand up, speak up, and don't shut up while you still can. Get loud, take action. Be blessed and be well. Peace.